It started like any other move-in story. When Daniel and Sarah Cooper bought the old house on Willow Creek Lane in Ohio, they thought they'd found their dream home. It was affordable, spacious, and close to Daniel's new teaching job. Sure, the house was old, built in the 1950s, but that was part of the charm. Or so they thought. The realtor mentioned that the previous owner had moved out suddenly, but no one thought to ask why. The basement, she said, was unfinished but solid. A good space for storage or maybe a workshop. Daniel nodded, not thinking twice. He should have, because someone was already living down there. At first, it was just small things. A box of tools misplaced. Footsteps at night. Sarah would swear she heard the creak of the basement door, and Daniel would laugh it off. It's an old house, he'd say. The wood expands. But as weeks passed, the signs became harder to ignore. One morning, Sarah found her favorite coffee mug shattered on the kitchen counter as if someone had thrown it. Another night, Daniel discovered the back door unlocked even though he swore he'd bolted it. Then there was the smell of faint, metallic scent wafting up from the basement vents. Sarah grew uneasy. She started keeping the lights on at night. One Saturday afternoon, while Daniel was out, she decided to check the basement herself. She opened the door and flicked the light switch. Nothing. The bulb had burned out. With her phone flashlight trembling in her hand, she took the first step down. Dust floated through the beam. The air felt colder than it should. Halfway down, she froze. There was something, a faint movement behind the stack of old boxes near the wall. Daniel, she whispered, though she knew he wasn't home. Silence. Then a cough. She screamed, ran upstairs, slammed the door, and called 911. When police arrived, they searched the basement. They found traces of food wrappers, empty bottles, and an old blanket, but no person. Maybe a squatter, one officer said. Could have used an old vent or window to get in. They promised to patrol the area. Daniel tried to comfort her, but he was shaken too. They replaced the locks, installed cameras, and went back to pretending everything was normal. But normal was long gone. A week later, the cameras caught something just for a second. At 2:47 a.m., a figure moved past the basement doorway. Tall, hunched, wearing what looked like an oversized hoodie. The footage was grainy, but the outline was unmistakable. Someone was in their house. Daniel ran downstairs with a baseball bat, his heart pounding. He flipped on the lights. This time they worked. The basement was empty again, but on the concrete floor, written in chalk, were 3 words, "You found me." That night, neither of them slept. Daniel called the police again, furious. This time, they brought dogs, searching the property. The dogs went straight to the basement. They sniffed around the walls, then stopped at the far corner behind an old shelf. One of the officers tapped the wall hollow. They pried the boards loose. Behind them was a small crawl space, maybe 3 feet high. Inside lay a dirty mattress, some canned food, and a flashlight. And a photo. It showed a man, gaunt, unshaven, standing with a family. Daniel's family. It was a picture from their move-in day. Someone had taken it through the window. Detectives identified the man as Calvin Ross, a drifter who'd once worked as a handyman for the previous homeowner. He'd been living in that basement for over a year. When the house sold, Calvin stayed hiding in the crawl space during the day, sneaking out at night to eat, drink, and watch the couple through vents and cracks. He knew everything about them. What they ate, when they argued, when they slept. He had journals, hundreds of pages of observations. Sarah hums when she's nervous. Daniel leaves his phone on the counter. They're good people. I'll protect them. But it didn't stop there. The last entry read, they're planning to leave. I can't let them. Police launched a manhunt. Calvin was gone, but sightings poured in from nearby counties, people reporting a thin man wandering backyards, peeking into windows. For months, Daniel and Sarah lived in fear. They moved out of the house, renting an apartment in another city. But late one night, Sarah woke to a sound, a soft knock on the wall behind their bed. She turned, heart pounding. The wall was solid brick. They were on the 3rd floor. The next morning, when she went downstairs, she found a piece of paper slipped under the door. In uneven handwriting, it said, "Miss you both. Basement's empty now." Police never caught Calvin Ross. The Coopers sold the house again. The new owners claimed they'd renovated the basement, sealed every vent, rebuilt every wall. But neighbors still say they hear faint scratching sounds from below some nights. And once, during a storm, a delivery driver swore he saw someone standing at the basement window smiling. No one believes him, but everyone locks their doors now, because in that neighborhood, everyone remembers the house where the tenant never left.